Is it true that modern movie posters just don't hit the same? Well, today I'll be looking at each of the 9 main Star Wars movie posters, analyzing and rating each of them to figure out which capture the magic of each movie. Because some of the posters we are looking at were made in the 70s, while others were made only a few months ago. Starting with A New Hope, we first have this classic poster, which shows Luke Skywalker being absolutely jacked here. And personally, I would have to give this one a 6 out of 10, which I know is very controversial. However, I really just find that it's very bland, like with the colors and stuff, and also I just don't really like the style of Luke and Leia being so over dramatic like that. So personally, it's just not really my favorite, but I definitely understand why it is so iconic. Yeah, now for the special edition poster, this one I'm giving it a 3 out of 10 because while it does have a very good emphasis on the main characters, it also looks pretty awful in my opinion with that pink and the oversaturation. So personally, I do not like this one very much. And for the redesign here, I'd actually have to give this one a 6 out of 10 as well, because on one hand, I think it looks visually pretty cool, and it does have some good emphasis on Tatooine and then Luke and some of these characters, but at the same time, the movie is not about revenge, it's about, you know, sort of hope and bright future and all of these aspects, and showing Luke with this sort of look of hatred on his face just to me doesn't really fit. Now here we have the actual classic poster, which I'm giving a 10 out of 10 because to me it has the great focus on the big three, it has really great popping saturated colors, and it's just a personal favorite of mine, so I would have to give it that rating. But moving on to The Empire Strikes Back, we first off have this terrible poster, which I'm giving a 2 out of 10. Now why is that? Is it pretty iconic? Yes. At the same time, it does not fit the movie at all, especially considering the Emperor is basically not in the movie. Now on the other hand, we have this one, which is definitely very iconic. I'd give this poster a 7 out of 10 because while it does fit the very introspective and sort of intimate feel of The Empire Strikes Back, there's not a lot of bright, you know, battles or anything on the cover. At the same time, I feel like it all kind of just, you know, blends together. Nothing really stands out here, so it's not really my favorite. On the other hand, we have the Blu-ray color, which honestly, Boba Fett is way too big here, and I don't know, I think the colors look pretty good at the same time, so I'd have to give it a 7 out of 10. But looking at this poster, which many of you have probably never seen before, I certainly hadn't, I'd actually give this one a 9 out of 10 because I really like the hell within heaven imagery with the central characters here, which is actually what the carbonite chamber was supposed to represent in Cloud City. And overall, I just think it is very visually cool and really fits the film very well. Moving on to Return of the Jedi, we have the 40th anniversary poster, which I would give a 9 out of 10. To me, I love all the indoor stuff, I love the sort of focus on Vader and Luke and the Emperor here, because surprisingly, a lot of the Return of the Jedi posters don't even have the Emperor on them, and this one does, and I think it just looks really clean. But for the special edition poster, this one I'm giving a 3 out of 10, because bro, Chewbacca is not the main character, Jabba and Yoda are also not the main characters. I mean, Jabba's pretty important here. And then of course, they use the picture from The Empire Strikes Back, so they literally got everything wrong. Yeah, it's definitely not a good one. For this poster, I'd give a 7 out of 10 because I do think visually and artistically it is like absolutely gorgeous with all the stars and just the way it's composed. At the same time, you know, Luke has a blue lightsaber. I feel like green kind of better fits the movie than blue. And I don't know, I just think maybe having the Emperor instead of like Lando or instead of Jabba might have been a little bit better. But it's still a good poster and obviously very artistic in its nature. But moving on to the prequels, with the Phantom Menace, we have this one, which I think is an 8 out of 10. I think this one's just iconic, and I love the emphasis on Anakin with the suns, and of course Darth Maul in the background. It all just looks very good and artistic. Then moving on to the 25th anniversary poster, to me this one, I don't really like at all. I think it's like a 6 out of 10, because, I don't know, just the colors do not pop. To me, this movie has a lot of green and kind of cool colors, so this sort of warm composition where you literally can't even see the red on Darth Maul's face. just doesn't look as good. And also Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are very small in the poster, which is like, you know, kind of what their role is in the movie, where like sort of the droids in New Hope, where they're not that important. They're just kind of how we're getting the story told to us. But at the same time, I just feel like I'd like to see them a little bit bigger at least. Now for this poster, I actually think this one looks awesome. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Now the one thing that doesn't work here is that Anakin is essentially not in the poster at all, and he is extremely important to the film, but at the same time I think it looks absolutely gorgeous with that red and green contrast, and just the sort of modern visual of it I think looks really good. But real quick, here's the Christian advice of this video. If you want to get back to the main video, then you can actually skip to this time right here. But today we're looking at Matthew 10:39, which says, "Those who find their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it." Now, the takeaway I got from this is, you must live a humble and faithful life, which means, prioritizing your faith in God and serving the Lord over sort of monetary gain and things of that sort. And through having a faithful life like this, you will actually have an everlasting reward with, the kingdom of heaven, going to heaven, and of course, pleasing your Father in heaven, over sort of the fleeting reward you would get from being rich or being influential or living a quote-unquote happy life according to the sort of modern earthly way of looking at it. Now, with this said, remember as always, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and we truly do live to serve. But yeah, getting back to the video, just a quick reminder, you can subscribe if you enjoy this content, because it does very much help me out. Definitely, I would appreciate that, but truly I cannot do this without you guys. So thank you to all the support you've given me over the years with all these videos, truly. But yeah, let's get back to it. Attack of the Clones, on the other hand, has this classic poster, which I'd give a 9 out of 10. You know what? 10 out of 10, because I think it just really, kind of went all the way for a movie that isn't even my favorite, but I think Anakin and Padme here with Jango Fett, the Battle of Geonosis, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Mace Windu, the droids, it all just comes together in a very, very memorable way that I think works very well. And then of course we have this poster with Anakin and Padme, which isn't like the most incredible, but I think the quote, "A Jedi shall not know anger, nor hatred, nor love," I think that is extremely powerful and really speaks to the movie, so I'd give that one a 8 out of 10 actually. But for this redesign here, I'm also giving this one an 8 out of 10, because while I think Anakin should be a little bit bigger as well as Padme, everything's just a little too small. At the same time, I love seeing Dooku actually on an Attack of the Clones poster for once, plus Jango Fett and Mace Windu and all these other elements come together very nicely, and the clones aren't too big on the poster, which is pretty good considering they're literally not in the movie at all. But for episode 3, we first have this very artistic poster, which I'm giving a 9 out of 10 because it really portrays the tragedy of the movie very well. For the classic poster, I'll actually give it a 7 out of 10 because I think it is a little bit too basic compared to the other prequel covers. Then for the 20th anniversary, this is a 9 out of 10. I mean, we get Nightfall Vader, Darth Vader's helmet, and the Mustafar imagery. It just overall very much fits the movie in my opinion. This poster is tough, bro. I'm giving this one a 10 out of 10 because to me it has the most essential parts of the movie with Anakin versus Obi-Wan, just their whole conflict in the film, as well as Mustafar, and then the origin of Darth Vader. To me, that's such a central part of the film that some of the other posters don't even show that much of, that I think this one is just absolutely beautiful, and also visually it's just magnificent. Moving on to the sequels briefly, we have the Force Awakens poster, which I give a 9 out of 10. I think it looks absolutely incredible and is extremely iconic as well. Then for the Blu-ray cover, this is like a 5 out of 10. I mean, they completely messed this up, bro. They just threw in everything in the movie on here, and it just does not look good at all. And then this other alternate poster is a 2 out of 10 because it just looks really bad. But for the Last Jedi, to me, this might be my favorite movie poster ever. which is kind of crazy for a sequel movie. Now then again, I don't hate The Last Jedi that much, but at the same time, this is a 10 out of 10 poster to me. I just think it looks visually incredible, and makes sense because the movie is visually gorgeous as well. But seeing Luke, Kylo Ren, all these different elements, the Battle of Crate, it just works so well. This alternate poster here, I'd give a 9 out of 10. I remember seeing this in the theater when it was coming out, and it just is a very visually striking poster that fits the main ideas and characters of the film very well. Then we have this alternate poster, which is also a 9 out of 10. Absolutely gorgeous as well, but I think there's maybe a little too much red to make it a 10 out of 10. Then we have the Rise of Skywalker poster, which I give a 6 out of 10. I mean, I get it looks really good, but at the same time, for some reason, something about it feels a little bit off. Like, it just feels a little bit oversaturated, overproduced. And I just don't think it quite fits the movie as well as it should. For this one, I'd actually give a 9 out of 10 because obviously Palpatine is a huge part of the film, so I think that emphasis is better there. And then also the duel on the second Death Star wreckage, I think is a pretty cool element of the film, so it's a nice poster for that reason at least. And then we have this other alternate poster, which I remember when the movie was first being, in the making of, when I saw this one, it got me so hyped. I love the Sith troopers, Kylo Ren's really big on here, and then of course we have all the other characters. I think it is just very well designed, so I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. But yeah, I think we kind of answered the question that arguably, from my point of view, I think modern posters sort of have a very high quality and look to them that I just don't think was quite possible without computer technology that works very well. However, there is a certain artistic quality to many of the old posters that I think, if integrated with the new ones, could actually make some of the best ones imaginable. So it seems like we kind of get either really artistic and, sort of gorgeous posters or overproduced, sort of sometimes generic ones. We need something in the middle that combines all of the good factors of each that could really make some great posters. So hey, maybe when I make my Star Wars movies, that can be the case. I'm not joking, I have plans. But anyway, addressing the title of this video, why you clicked on it, what is the best poster from all of Star Wars? Well, I think this artistic Revenge of the Sith poster is definitely a high contender, as is the Attack of the Clones poster and Force Awakens poster as well. For me, the best poster would be A New Hope, but The Last Jedi, a lot of people hate that movie, very understandable. There are things about it I don't like as well, but as for the poster, I think this just looks absolutely incredible and really is, above and beyond for what the movie is. But anyway, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this one, then you might also like this video where I looked at the Anakin versus Obi-Wan duel in 0.25 speed. And if you don't watch it, then I'm pretty sure Anakin will go to your house and execute you like the younglings. Yeah, see ya.